In 2002, Mattel released the My Scene doll. These dolls were the love child of the classic Barbie and the Bratz doll. Millions of children around the world played with the My Scene dolls, the online flash games, or even the web series. Little did we know that the launch of the My Scene doll was actually a declaration of war. Founder of Barbie, Ruth Handler, launched the Barbie doll in 1959. She started off as just a beautiful woman who had it all. A tall, slim, young, white woman with no imperfections, no scratches, no marks, no fat, and no flaws. Barbie was born as a way to show young girls that there was more to life than just motherhood, as the most sold toy at the time was a baby doll that little girls would roleplay being mothers with. Barbie also represented the rise of fashion and consumerism for women, as the early 60s was a booming period for women to make their own money and spend it on vanity. As the years went on, Barbie largely expanded into a multimedia franchise including new dolls, doll houses, movies, songs, computer games, clothing, and more. If you were a child in the late 90s to the early 2010s, you know that Barbie was inescapable. To most children growing up, Barbie was the it girl we all looked up to before the rise of social media. She could be anything she wanted to be: a doctor, an astronaut, a chef, a singer, you name it. Not only that, but she had pretty friends and a pretty boyfriend always by her side. However, as much as people adored her, many people despised Barbie. To a lot of people, she was society's most unrealistic expectations of women thrown together in a plastic doll being sold to children, brainwashing children into believing that they must look like Barbie or else they won't be beautiful. That's when Barbie's biggest enemy was born. Introducing the Bratz doll. Interestingly enough, Bratz was created by a former Mattel employee, Carter Bryant. After seeing the gap in the doll market, Bryant knew exactly what needed to be done. The world wanted to see dolls that represented them. Little girls wanted to feel represented by the toys they played with. Bryant was smart enough to realize what needed to be done, thereby filling that gap in the toy industry and quickly rising to Barbie-like status. In 2001, the 4 original Bratz dolls were launched by the manufacturer MGA Entertainment. They were the complete opposite of Barbie. Each of the 4 Bratz were from a different ethnic background. They had bigger eyes, fuller lips, and curvier bodies. Moreover, their fashion was a true reflection of the actual fashion trends in the early 2000s. Sasha, Chloe, Yasmin, and Jade were the new core 4, the new it girls if you will. The cool thing about Bratz was not only did they uniquely represent different people around the world because of their ethnicity, but they represented different people through their fashion and personalities. Let's look at the 4 main Bratz dolls. Yasmin was thought to be a Hispanic woman with medium brown hair, hazel eyes, and her unique beauty mark. Her style can be described as earthy, chill, vintage, and girly. In the multimedia universe of Bratz, Yasmin's personality is shown as a little shy and reserved, but she also loves attention. She's quieter than the rest of her friends. She loves reading, writing, and singing. Her interests also include thrifting, yoga, and Pilates. Next we have Sasha. She was thought to be a black woman with dark brown hair and hazel eyes. Her style can be described as cool, edgy, trendy streetwear. In the show, her friends refer to her as Bunny Boo because she hops to her own beat, which is super cute. Her interests include dancing, specifically ballet and hip-hop, singing, and playing her guitar. Her interest in dance reflects in her style because her outfits are either cooler and edgier or they're girly and daintier. Next in the bunch is Chloe. She's thought to be a white woman with blonde hair and blue eyes. Her style can be described as trendy, edgy, and sporty. She likes to mix and match different fabrics, sometimes showcasing her punk rock side and sometimes showcasing her athletic side. Nicknamed Drama Mama by her friends, her personality is described as outgoing, flirty, and energetic. Her interests include cheerleading, singing, soccer, and shopping. Lastly, we have Jade, who's shown to be an Asian woman. She has long black hair and dark brown eyes. Her style can be described as vintage, daring, and cool. Her interests include playing the violin, psychology, and singing for her rock band. She's the most intelligent out of her friend group, but always manages to balance out her school and personal life. I think my favorite part about the Bratz growing up was sitting with my friends and deciding who would be who. We would all take little online quizzes together, talk about our fashion interests, and compare our personalities to the 4 girls to see who we were most like. Looking back, I almost have a newfound love for Bratz considering how well it holds up in modern times. Being a bit older than their original age, I find myself still being able to relate to them and embracing life through fashion and beauty. If it wasn't obvious already, I was definitely a Bratz girl growing up. My favorite was Yasmin because I always felt like my personality and style was closest to her. I had a lot of Bratz dolls and other merchandise growing up, but personally I remember for one of my birthdays I got that big Bratz doll head that you could do hair and makeup on. That was honestly my most prized possession. When people discuss whether they liked Barbie or Bratz more growing up, it all honestly comes down to nostalgia. I'm obviously more biased towards Bratz because that's what I grew up with, but the same can be said about those who grew up with Barbie. And I know there were other dolls growing up as well, like Monster High, Polly Pocket, and American Girl, but honestly, none of them could compare to these 2 legends. After the crazy successful debut year of the Bratz doll, Barbie decided that enough was enough. If the world wanted more diverse dolls, they were gonna get it. So came the My Scene doll. The My Scene girls were like Barbie, but they had bigger eyes, fuller lips, and more makeup. Interestingly, Barbie decided to copy Bratz's marketing strategy of introducing new ethnically diverse dolls, with the 3 originals being the classic Barbie, Madison, and Chelsea. As the years went on, My Scene introduced more dolls, including male dolls. Another change that Mattel made for the My Scene dolls was making them more modern and in with the kids. The girls would go to clubs, go shopping, attend high-class events, and gossip at the local cafe. In my opinion, the My Scene dolls were more known for their online flash games rather than the actual dolls themselves. They had an array of different games like Makeover Studio, Room Makeover, Shopping Spree, and Dazzling Nails. On the My Scene website, they debuted their very own web series in 2002 that went on until 2008. The main characters included Barbie, Madison, Chelsea, Noli, Delancey, Kenzie, River, Hudson, Sutton, Ellis, and interestingly, Bryant. I wonder if that last character was named after Carter Bryant, who was Mattel's biggest, greatest enemy at the time. In order to further solidify my research, I decided to watch a few episodes of the show to see how well it holds up today. Firstly, banger theme song. I remember watching a few episodes of this as a kid, but I certainly don't remember the theme song being this good. Also, right off the bat, I think the reason why people gravitated towards the games and the show more than the actual dolls was because of the animation. It's nice on the eyes and it fits that early 2000s aesthetic that people still love today. The first episode begins with Barbie leaving her cherry red cell phone in the taxi as she meets up with Madison and Chelsea at a local cafe. As she's getting out of the taxi, a cute boy gets in. To get her phone back and to get the boy's number, Barbie calls her phone and agrees to meet up with the boy. Turns out, Madison knew his girlfriend the entire time. Although the first episode was about a minute long, I was surprised to find out that the rest of the show was actually pretty entertaining and had character and plot development. Which is definitely not something I expected from a simple cash grab web series. As the show goes on, our initial squad consisting of Barbie, Madison, and Chelsea expands and they become friends with Noli, Chelsea's cousin Delancey, and Kenzie. They even introduce some character conflict when Madison starts developing feelings for River the same day River asks Barbie to be his girlfriend. I was honestly really impressed with the way they dealt with the arrival of Chelsea's cousin Delancey. Delancey recently moved to New York from California, and she's not looking forward to meeting and hanging out with Chelsea and her snobby friends. However, when she starts hanging out with them, she realizes she judged them too quickly and starts enjoying their company. It's honestly really wholesome and kind of realistic. I also love the little subplots they had for each character, ranging from their families, their love life, or their own hobbies. One super interesting thing I noticed while watching the show is the way My Scene copies the Bratz dolls and their love for upcycling clothes. When the Bratz dolls were first introduced to the world, it was made very clear that Yasmin especially enjoyed thrifting and using old clothes to make newer and trendier ones. In the show, they depict Chelsea cutting and sewing older clothes to make new outfits as she's on the train. One thing that I really liked about My Scene was the way they catered to the aspirations of teenage girls, especially in North America. Growing up, I felt like being 16 was so old because I was watching these girls go to parties and clubs every night. One thing the show did perfectly was its aesthetic. It perfectly captures the aesthetic of a rich teenage girl in New York along with the aesthetic of that early 2000s teen. Watching this show is making me wish that I wasn't like 5 years old in the early 2000s and instead was a pretty 16-year-old with lots of friends and daddy's credit card. After the fast-growing success of Bratz, Mattel discovered that the brains behind this madness was none other than their ex-employee Carter Bryant. Due to contracts he signed while working for Mattel, Mattel decided to throw a lawsuit at MGA Entertainment, claiming that because Bryant thought of the Bratz idea while working for Mattel, Bratz became their property. But Bryant and MGA didn't back down. Instead, they decided to countersue. Mattel continued with its lawsuit against MGA and eventually were awarded $100 million in 2008. Along with this decision, the court ordered MGA to transfer its property to Mattel as the rightful owner and fully discontinue the production and marketing of Bratz dolls. But as we know, this didn't actually happen because Bratz continued to sell after 2008 and they still do to this day. This decision was eventually reversed and a new trial was opened. According to Insider, Mattel's best course of action would have been to upgrade or revamp Barbie instead of pursuing a pathetic lawsuit. The year that Mattel was awarded $100 million was also the year their sales would decrease by 21%. In the eyes of Mattel, they had won, but at what cost? The next 3 years after that, Bryant and MGA fought tooth and nail to not only get their $100 million back, but to also get their intellectual property back. Eventually, in 2011, the court ordered that Mattel pay MGA $310 million. This was a huge and well-deserved win for Bryant and Bratz. Mattel decided to sue Bryant because they believed that he was developing Bratz while he was on the clock for them. However, they had no concrete evidence to prove that he used company secrets and resources during his development of the dolls. Furthermore, the jury found that Mattel's contract of employment with Bryant was rather foggy and they didn't have the means to argue that he broke any legal obligations. Looking through Bryant's original sketches for Bratz, it's clear to see that he had his own vision and simply left Mattel to pursue a dream he knew wouldn't be accepted in the traditional world of Barbie. Now, the question we've all been wondering: who was the best doll? I believe this decision falls into examining different categories: the actual dolls, the fashion, the movies, and the aesthetic. Let's start with the dolls. Okay, in my opinion, this is an easy win for Bratz. Like, come on, they were more diverse, they had fun makeup and daring hairstyles. Don't get me wrong though, I definitely played with Barbies growing up, but Bratz were just so much cuter. Their actual design was unique and pretty. Barbies were cute too, but they just lacked originality. So I'll have to say that it's 1-0 for Bratz. Okay, now let's talk fashion. Now, technically would say that this could be a tie because the My Scene dolls had really cute outfits, but when we think about it, My Scene was just a ripoff of Bratz anyways. Although Barbie's fashion choices were really cute, they didn't have that same modern, culturally relevant vibe that Bratz did. Barbie played it safe, relying on princess silhouettes in different shades of pink. But Bratz wasn't afraid to play with different colors, prints, and fabrics. Moreover, each Bratz doll's style differed from the next. They all had different but complementing styles. Okay, now let's talk about the movies. This is where Barbie gets to shine. I watched both Bratz and Barbie movies growing up, but Barbie easily takes the cake. Princess Charm School, Swan Lake, and The Island Princess were all bangers. The animation, songs, plot, characters, and aesthetic of the movies were really great and did a great job of creating stories for pre-existing dolls. Bratz, on the other hand, struggled in the film department. Well, not entirely, allow me to rephrase. I always thought that the whole baby Bratz thing was cute, and Bratz starring and styling was pretty good as well as far as plot and animation goes. However, after 2006, the movies rapidly started to decline, especially movies like Genie Magic and Desert Jewels. For that, Barbie takes the dub. Finally, let's talk aesthetic. Now, this is by far the hardest decision, especially because the Barbie and Bratz aesthetic are so vastly different. It would be like comparing apples to oranges. The Barbie aesthetic is more glamorous and girly. After all, life in plastic, it's fantastic. The Barbie aesthetic can be divided into sectors. There's the classic Barbie aesthetic that we just discussed and was really amplified this year from the Barbie movie. And then there's the coquette Barbie, mostly deriving its softer aesthetic from Swan Lake. And finally, there's the Y2K My Scene aesthetic, which we also previously discussed. Personally, I thoroughly enjoy the Barbie aesthetic, especially because my favorite color is pink. I find that Barbie only decided to branch out after the success of Bratz, which makes me wonder, would Barbie remain as the classic pink-wearing blonde gal that we always knew if Bratz never existed? Do we only enjoy the different sectors of Barbie because of Bratz? Well, Bratz knew its aesthetic from day one. Like I previously mentioned, you can see the vision Carter Bryant had in his first sketches, and his vision translated very well into the final product. The reason why I just love the Bratz aesthetic so much is because it was so relevant in the 2000s and still is today. The way Bratz used different styles of teenage girls and made them into dolls is just so genius, and it still impresses me to this day. But listen, I think the best marketing choice Bratz has ever made in all of its years was the song Rockstar by Prima J. Oh my god, the chokehold this song had on me as a kid is insane. I had this song on repeat on my MP3 player. I lived and breathed this song. Plus, the music video perfectly encapsulated the Bratz vibe and made it into a real life version. It was truly perfect and could never be defeated. Okay, I know I seem super biased towards Bratz, but I honestly can't get over how good the entire idea was. If I'm being honest, I would settle this as a tie, but to make this video more interesting, I think it's imperative that we select a winner to settle this long-standing debate. And that winner is... Today, it's safe to say that Barbie has found its footing again after the release of the new movie starring Margot Robbie. With earnings over $1.4 billion, Barbie's relevancy in the mainstream world has skyrocketed. I found this theory online that I found so fascinating and also hilarious. In the scene of the Barbie movie where Barbie meets Sasha and her friends, they all start talking down on her, belittling her, and arguing about how Barbie promotes nothing but unrealistic beauty standards and overconsumption. The theory is that the four girls represent the four main Bratz girls. Of course, we have Sasha, but there's also Yasmin, Chloe, and Jade. To be completely honest, I believe this theory because it's a funny and cheeky way to address the long-standing beef between Barbie and Bratz. However, Bratz has also managed to keep itself relevant through its rebranding and collaboration with different celebrities. Most recently, they launched a Kylie Jenner collection, which was a good marketing move as Kylie is seen as a real-life Bratz doll. Both of their aesthetics live on and can be seen in real life, whether it's through what we see on social media or in the entertainment we consume. One of the biggest examples that comes to mind is Maddie from Euphoria. Her entire aesthetic and persona feels like a real-life Bratz doll. We can also see this style in different celebrities like Kali Uchis, Ice Spice, Pink Pantress, and obviously Kylie Jenner. Okay, I promised I would select a winner, but looking back at all my research, this is a really hard decision. Both dolls have played such a major role in the development of young children around the world and our culture of beauty and fashion. But ultimately, I've decided that the winner has to be Bratz. I know a lot of you are going to disagree with me, which is totally fine, but to me, Bratz has always been and will always be the winner. I'm sure if they made a live-action Bratz movie with as big of a budget as Barbie, it would be just as successful. This video was so fun to make. I couldn't help but feel a little emotional taking a walk down memory lane and rediscovering my love for the dolls that I had when I was just a little girl. It made me really happy to feel that rush of nostalgia and excitement I had when I first discovered both Barbie and Bratz. I was also really interested in the conflict between the dolls for a really long time and wanted to do an in-depth analysis of their feud. If you enjoyed this video, I would really love if you could give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Comment down below whether you're team Barbie or Bratz. I'd love to hear your opinion. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.